Welcome to Officially Casually OC. Okay, that's it. So we're
Episode 19.
19. So this episode we're gonna do Q&A, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, shoot the questions.
Okay. There was 3 questions and I forgot one of them, so we're gonna go with the other 2. The first question was,
we don't have notebooks, all right? We're not making any money because nobody's clicking on our ads.
yeah. The first question is, how do you guys visualize yourselves in 5 years? Or I guess maybe yourselves or the show. I don't think that was specific, so you can answer it in whatever way you want.
Do both, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good question. I like that. Who wants to go first?
You already started.
Well, okay. In that case, I'm gonna go. You gotta keep on going. So the question is like, in this question, I ask myself like, why do you ask this question? So when you ask a question like that, how do you visualize yourself in 5 years? It's kind of you want to know how you're gonna be in 5 years. And that for me is like, okay, I have to pedal back a little bit and actually start 5 years ago when I started imagining myself in 5 years. And it's really actually fantastic, because really 5 years ago, when I went through my depression and the breakup with my girlfriend, and I lost my job and all these things happened to me, I was not satisfied with the person that I was at that moment of time. And so for me, it was like, you know what? I don't like who I am today, but I know I can change. But then it's the question, like, how do I want to be? And for me, it was like very important to be based on my past experiences, of course. I always was kind of guy that got used a lot. And, I built up a lot of insecurities in myself. So I had insecurities like being manipulated, or also insecurities of not being good enough. So based on that insecurities, I portrayed my future self on, I want to be so good and so great. Like, let's assume in relationships, I want to be so good and so great that even if I have like a girlfriend, that she would not even have the idea or thoughts of being with somebody else, because I'm so fantastic. And then I started like to picture myself like, but how should that person who is so fantastic be, right? So that was like one of the things, and I portrayed myself as I liked always the sense of being strong and smart. And so one of the sub motivations of going to China was that part of like, you know what, I'm gonna develop myself physically, get really strong in all the parts, like learn martial arts like deeper than I already did, and also on the side learn a lot, so read a lot of books, listen to audiobooks, podcasts and whatever, and just become a really, really amazing human being. That was my idea, right? And now fast forward 5 years later, I definitely changed. We had this topic last week, when I told you, like, I met my two old friends and they noticed the change in me. And I'm really happy about the change. But one thing I also noticed was, even though years have passed and I've become better, there was this realization had 6, 7, 8 months ago, beginning of the year, end of last year, that I still didn't feel good enough. I still didn't feel like I'm a fantastic human being. Whatever. I knew like I really love to be myself, but at the same time I knew like, hey, I'm still not there where I wanted to be. And then I spent some time alone in China, in my apartment, and I really started to go deeper into myself and figuring out the insecurities, right? And at one point I challenged some insecurities, and actually also realized then that this whole journey was about not just becoming something, but also compensating for the things that I thought I lacked. So like getting better in this and this things, or like improving this and this kind of thing at myself, I was like, I'm just compensating for the things that I believe that I'm lacking. But then I went for like a self-discovering journey of like, you know what, actually I'm never gonna reach a point where I'm good enough if I'm always chasing a better version of myself. And then it's always going to be like in the rest of my life, I'm just going to chase and chase and chase, you know. And then I looked at myself with help of a friend, and I realized, fuck, man, I'm so imperfect and full of insecurities, which till this point I actually kind of was able to, you know, how to call it, delude myself and being like, no, I'm not that insecure. But then, you know, challenge myself and like going deeper in myself, and I actually realized, yeah, man, you're fucking full of insecurities, man, and you're not perfect, and you're probably never gonna be, and all that stuff. And then something very, very interesting happened. I looked at myself with all the flaws and imperfections and dark sides and whatever is inside of me, and I realized, you know what, this is never gonna go away, no matter what I do. And through a little process, I was finally able to accept that truth of like, you know what, I'm never gonna be better. No matter what I imagine for myself, I'm never gonna be satisfied. But then what happened was like self-acceptance happened. I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna improve myself. I just gonna, like, I can improve myself, but the flaws are not gonna go away. I'm always gonna be imperfect. And from that point on, where I started accepting myself, suddenly, it took me a little while, but afterwards I was like, you know what, all these things that I wanted to do, achieving things, becoming better, becoming stronger, all this stuff was really just for compensating for my lack of maybe confidence, and for my very, very strong insecurities. But however, once I accepted my insecurities, I felt I don't need to become better anymore. I'm okay as I am. And so this question of like who I want to be in 5 years, or like how do I want to evolve as a person now, I understand that you can lead yourself in developing yourself in your own evolution. At the same time, I'm okay with whatever I turn out to be. So I still gonna guide myself a little bit, you know, through martial arts and just follow the things I like to do, but I'm not gonna think about anymore who I want to be or what I want to do. I just want to follow now my intuition and the feelings. That's the thing. That's my thing.
All right. Oh, that was a quite full answer. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, welcome.
Uh, there's a few things that stood out for me while you were talking, and you mentioned that 5 years ago maybe you were in a, you could say, dark spot if you want, and then in a darker spot, dun, 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 dun. and and it's funny to think about that we can only project 5 years forward. I mean, even if we can't even do that, right? Because I'm someone that shrugs at that idea of thinking so far ahead. But we can only think from where we are standing, right? So if you are going through a hard time, you are going to try to create something that's maybe also dark, or that kind of, which you kind of did, that contradicts that darkness, or that uh, struggle you were having. And it's like every 5 years that you do this, it's gonna be like a different person planning for 5 years, and I don't know, I thought that was kind of really cool. I will go ahead with my answer then, if nobody will say anything else about
Yeah,
darkness.
go for it.
I just want to add something that you just said, like it creates something in the darkness. It's really like something to strive for. When you lost in life and you set yourself like a goal, of becoming better or something, it's a little light at the end of the tunnel. And definitely do that. If you lost and you don't know what to do, like if you don't know what to do in life, walk the path of self-improvement. You're not wrong with that. You're not wrong with that. Okay,
It keeps you
that's
like
even
a
on
north.
that.
So for me, like I just kind of said, I never been able to plan out 5 years ahead, for better or for worse. I read it many times that it's a great idea to get X done or Y done, but uh, 5 years is 5 years. I only, what, 27, 28, and 5 years is like 20% of the time I've been around, and maybe like 60% of the time I've been lucid enough to actually plan or want to plan my life and stuff like that. So it's 5 years is crazy, and in the effort to answer the question, I say, like, I probably will be in a different country and probably would have a lot of professional experience working as a developer, which is kind of what I'm been setting up now. But even that, I've been setting it up. Hopefully nobody hears it, for like 3 months. So I haven't even been preparing. I'm uh, that long, and I already like kind of doing it, and it's like, well, if I did that in 3 months, in 5 years, I might be like on a rocket to the moon or something, for all I know. So it's like, I don't really know, but this is my hope. I hope that I am better economically, that I have some certain financial freedom. Like I won't even like beat around the bush with that. I have some debt. I have some things I have to clear out, and then I'm going to have clear that, and then have something to travel. I'll be working remotely, maybe, or on my own company, so, or both. So that those are things that within 5 years I could see happening, maybe even multiple times. And yeah, that's kind of it. And I wanted to say for the show, because just today, before the show, I was thinking about it. I was like, I wonder if we are gonna get our thing. I was thinking, because I saw your message that we might have a guest soon, and I was thinking, like, what if that goes like extremely well and we suddenly become like a guest show, in some way or something. And I know it's not officially casually to be like we're gonna be this kind of show, but something in me kind of like prod me that maybe eventually or someday we'll find like a thing that will kind of shape this. But then we are shaped by something in a way also, which is randomness and our experiences and stuff like that. So I don't know, I thought about this. So for the show, I see us still going in one way or another. So that would be like some 200, 300 episodes in. And yeah, that's kind of it. It's more of this, but with better articulation, maybe.
I think we're pretty decent.
Yeah.
um,
That's
what
it.
I found like what I like is now the you brought actually up like two examples. Like one is the of a personal life, right? Like your goals that they have, the kind of vague, so kind of, but I think it's okay. I don't think you have to be ultra specific what do you want to do, but that you want to be economical better and you have your own thing going on with your business, whatever. It's kind of vague, but it's already gives you a direction. So this is like I think you don't also need more for starting. When you want to, doing nothing gets you nowhere, right? And once you set, like, even if the goals are vague, they're gonna give you a kind of sense of direction, and that's pretty already cool. And then from one step after another, one thing is gonna come, and then you're gonna get more and more specific. So I think you're already doing it right. The other thing was with the show. Here's the beauty with this show that we did. We started a couple months ago, right? And with no intention or goal, like a really specific one. The only one we had was more, let's have it like as an archive that we can go back, let's say 10 years later, and be like, you know what, 2019 we had this mindset, and this were the things we struggled with, and the things went through it, right? So, but
Mm.
we didn't have really any specific goal with the show, what direction we're gonna lead it. However, it still managed to evolve in something better than before without any planning.
Without forcing it. Yeah.
None at all.
Exactly, and that's what I think. It's like also beautiful. Like if you have a goal or target, it's super cool. It's nice. It gives you, like you just go there. Why not? At the same time, if you just do things like we do for fun and for the right reasons, for joy and just connecting with each other, this thing gets also momentum, and then that naturally develop. It gets like kind of a mind of its own. I think, it just develops like because I don't know. Every week we do this. I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. Each week could lead us
Not
to
at all.
somewhere else, and this is kind of really fucking amazing. It's just like we just go with the flow. So you have two paths in life. You can either sit down and plan specifically or make whatever a direction and go there, or you follow the flow, what feels right, and go that way. And I don't think that one is either wrong or right. I think both is okay.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you guys about that because I feel like sometimes when I tell people that I'm more like kind of like going with the flow, they're like, "Oh, but what's your goal? But like, what's your plan? You gotta have a plan." And I don't know. I feel like I like the idea that you're mentioning, Darko, where just having something, even if it's something small, even if you're kind of like lost and you don't know like what your goal is, but you want I don't know, more time with your children. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough of a goal of, or just like something that you want that things are gonna start kind of like moving in that direction. Or even more interestingly, what's really gonna happen is that you're gonna start to notice things that were already there that are gonna help you move towards that direction. But um I don't know.
I
I feel like I have time like with really hard goals, but other people find those to be like better for them for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, I think first of all, this show like draws a lot of parallels in my life and maybe our lives. Like, yeah, this show is just about flowing, but having kind of like a certain core of joy and just wanting to do it that keeps it going. And I feel like I can apply that to my 5 year goals. Like I don't have an exact thing. I will be doing a lot of flowing, but I have, and this is what I wanted to get at, a set of values that I've been developing consciously and unconsciously about what I like to do and what I don't. And as long as those values are being held, which is like freedom and travel and uh, other things, then it's fine. Like I know that I won't like get into, I don't know, to drugs, for example, because I don't think they will go with my values. Like I don't think that would make me free to get into drugs. And if it was to sell them for money, I think that would also make me feel like really uncomfortable, like because of being on the dark side of the law. So like it's just a simple example, but it helps me like make my choices. So in a way that is plan. Like my plan is I have these values and I will follow them for 5 years, let's say, uh, and then we'll see what happens. Like being specific about the things that will happen, I make that more like 6 month plans, in some way or
Mm.
another. But like
Yeah,
over 5 years, just values are guiding me.
I like that. I like that with the sense of values a lot. That was also, yeah. I mean, now really, I really like that with the values, because then it's more like you follow your heart, your intuition, and you assess all the choices you make by with you through your values, and so as long as you follow your values, you're gonna know where, no matter where you end up, when you look back, you took a path that was yours
Yeah.
and you were
Yes.
true to it. And so that's really fucking beautiful what you just said with that, with the value part. Just want to say that.
Yeah, I like that idea too because I feel like um maybe the trap some people fall on is that they're living a life that's not theirs. It's like they're like maybe following other people's like expectations of them. Hey, study this, work on this, have this kind of life, do these kind of things. And if you have your own kind of like set of values, you can fight those things that maybe like you feel like other people are imposing on you, or the world is imposing on you, or your group or society is imposing on you. And you can kind of like stand as yourself and make your own decisions. And I feel like that makes things easier, because when you feel like you're making when you feel like your decisions someone else is making them, then wherever your life goes is kind of like that other entity's fault. But if you are kind of like following your values, or following the things that are uh, kind of like calling you or more interesting to you, wherever it is that you end up, even if somewhere that might seem like very unfortunate, you have the opportunity and kind of like the powers within you to be like, man, this doesn't look good right now, but this sure is interesting, and I'm sure gonna get like a great lesson from this, and then this thing is not gonna happen again. Or from this, I'm gonna learn how to maybe help other people that are on this position. But if you fall there because someone else kind of like, you feel like someone else put you there, then it becomes way harder to kind of like crawl yourself out of it in a sense.
Mm-hmm. It's the same topic we had last week. The sense of taking responsibility for your life
Hmm.
and getting out of the victim role.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, shit happens to you, but it's your decision what you do with it.
Bingo.
That's perspective. Perspective. It's all
Yeah.
about. There was one thing when I went through a depression. One good friend, he gave me the best advice in my life. One of the best advice in my life, and he told me like, no matter how dark it gets, always search for the light. Like there is something positive about it, and when you focus on the light, you will always get out with a positive, with a positive lesson, positive
Mm.
mindset, positive results, whatever, even if the whole thing looks really shit and it's a shit show for a longer period, like afterwards or in it, you might be able to see something, but you have to really look for it. It's not just gonna
Yeah.
show up, like in the terms when you suffer and you like going for shit. It's just not gonna pop up. It's not gonna be immediately visible to you what's good about it. But there's always two sides to the whole thing, right? There's dark and light. There's always every time something shitty happens, there's something good about it. Every time something good happens, you can reach it into it. But focus on the light, and you're always gonna end up good on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best book I can think about that is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Mm,
It's that book, I recommend anybody to read it if they
yeah.
want to get like another perspective about how you can still have control over your ideas and your thoughts even in the worst of situations. And yeah, like we are in control at the end of the day. And I remember we were giving like examples, like somebody comes and punch you, somebody comes, but
Yeah.
like, why if you're in a concentration camp, like why is that? Can you still control it? Well, this book it's kind of about that. And yeah, it's a very cool look into the power of the mind beyond like everything else that's around us, I guess. So anyways, Raf, like, want to hear your answer too.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like for me, I always had trouble with this question. And I feel like, for example, like when you go into an interview and they're like, oh, so how do you visualize yourself in 5 years in this company? And I'm like, I don't fucking know, man. I don't know what I'm gonna have for dinner today. So like, how am I gonna how do you expect me to answer this?
Truth. That's the
I don't
truth.
even know if your company's gonna be around in 5 years.
Yeah. No, but you have to
How
be
do you,
around.
how do you feel about that? Um, but some years, like a few years ago, I was reading this book, and it was kind of like I don't even remember how I found it, and I was whenever I say just full disclaimer, whenever I say I'm reading a book, I'm listening to it. I don't read books. So I was reading this book, and it got into this point where it was almost like a kind of meditation that the guy was explaining, and he was like, okay, visualize yourself in like 25 years, and put that and imagine that version of you somewhere in, so like stand in your living room, and a few feet in front of you, imagine the version of you in like 25 years, and then a few feet ahead from that one, imagine yourself in like 50 years, something like that. I don't remember the exact time length for those two, but it was like something around that line. And then the last one was, then imagine yourself in 500 years and put that person a few feet further. And these three people are now going to be your guides to help you get to those places in your life that, um, if you need help making decisions today to end up where you want to be in 25 years, then all you need to do is go and imagine yourself there and ask yourself, what would you do in this situation? And then that's like a pretty like big way of making the leap in that direction, because you're essentially looking at your own future self as your own mentor. And lo and behold, you always have access to yourself as your own mentor. So wherever it is that you are, you can always kind of like reach out to them. So for me, the first two, I couldn't even imagine them. So I was like, yeah, whatever. But the one for five, and like the version of me in 500 years, I could imagine really, really, really fucking clearly. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I can picture that version of me better than I can picture the version of me right now. And so what I realized was that my goal in 500 years is to be at a point in which I respect like basically everything, that I can respect any kind of person, however, cool or annoying or anything that they might seem, that I also respect like any kind of like living creature, or even things that are not living, because at the end of the day, everything's part of nature, everything's part of the universe. So that I'm kind of like at that point, and so with that I'm also like a really powerful positive force in the universe, that anything that I do or wherever I am, that I can kind of like spread that energy. And so I feel like in some way, shape, or form, that would be my answer to the 5 year thing. That I can't really say, like, it's hard for me to picture like where I would be in 5 years, because I feel like whatever I picture is going to be very limited to where I could be. And that said, I do feel like that 500-year goal is almost like, there's a part of me that's like, you're always going to keep moving towards that. So that's like almost like my continuous goal, and to some degree, I feel like almost like an impossible goal. Because you can always, as far as I might get going towards that, there's always going to be um, more that I can improve on. It's kind of like similar to what you were saying, Darko, where um, if you feel like there's things that you need to like fix about yourself, you're always going to keep finding things that you can improve on. And so I feel like that's maybe like one of the things I like about that goal, that although it is impossible in the sense that there's always going to be more, there's always going to be more in a very specific direction. That what's probably going to happen is that I'm going to find something, or I'm going to find like for example, like a type of person that really annoys the hell out of me. And now I can be like, okay, how do I not get annoyed by this person? How can I respect this person just like anyone else? Or how can I be cool with certain type of animals that could absolutely destroy me if we were alone in a cage or something like that? How can I just accept that this is a part of nature just as I am? And I feel like that's kind of like where I am with that question for me. For the maybe like the one thing that has changed in the past few weeks, maybe like month, is that I do see that goal of becoming a speaker like a lot more clear. I feel like the longer I'm around in this life, the more clear that goal becomes. Because I feel like it's something that my life has been moving towards for a while. So I don't know. It just feels like it's it's getting closer and closer in like a very profound way. Um, and for the show, I've been kind of wondering about this because I feel like we started this, like you guys mentioned, we didn't really have too much in mind other than let's just do it. And as we've kept on working on it, I feel like things have been just showing up on our lives that have almost like reinforced us doing it, and other people kind of like that are around us that are almost like following a similar trend, that they have their own podcast, or that they would like ideas for their podcast, or maybe some motivation to start their thing. And even just recently, like I was mentioning to you guys on the group chat, um Edward went back to a, a group of people that he's met before, and it turned out that they had a studio for recording podcasts and all that. So it's just kind of like interesting how it's almost like we jumped into this secret club that had always been kind of like around us, and suddenly, there are all these people around us that are also moving in this direction with us. So I don't know, I feel like I'm intrigued to see where this show is gonna go, and at the same time, like what kind of effect is it gonna have on the people listening, and in in us, as we're having these conversations and as our ideas are evolving.
It's I'm gonna say something that's gonna sound really trippy, but really this podcast is live right now. Like it it taught me how to do something from nothing, and I still apply that thing to like everything now. Like I just need to remember the podcast, and I'm like, okay, I can just do this. I don't need to be perfect. It taught me
Hmm.
like about just doing something randomly every time, and it's okay. And sometimes I still feel a little bit like resistant to that idea, like maybe we should plan something now, maybe, but I just hear that in my mind. I don't do anything about it because I don't think I have to. And like that, it just keeps like popping up, like Rafa said, in our lives with other people who are doing something similar, who are kind of like surprised that we've done so many episodes. To me, I'm not surprised because I've been in and out, but like I guess it's been like 19 episodes. So it's like it really allows me to see another facet of life that I definitely didn't expect to see just by making a random ass podcast. And I don't know. If anything, if I can hope, in 5 years, I just, like I said, I hope we're still making it, and that's as much as I'm gonna hope for it or wish for it, because I'm sure it's gonna take us wherever it needs to take us to.
Yeah.
But also the 5 years thing, with the podcast, this whole thing, the beautiful part about this, we didn't plan it really. We just like started doing it. And as you mentioned before, this podcast is live. I also talk about friends, how much this podcast taught me, just about um when people ask me, how did you start the podcast, I actually don't know. We just we just we just did.
Literally,
We just
literally
did.
cannot go back to it because it doesn't exist anymore. Like per episode.
I think I have still
No
like
one's
one
gonna
or two.
ever know.
Yeah. Well, but it was like we just like, hey, okay, let's do a podcast, and then we just found itself like, okay, let's do it. Let's go on Skype, and then I'm gonna try record, and then I messed up the recording. I think first on your site, and I
Yeah.
recorded myself, but didn't you? And then like, oh, sorry guys, I didn't record you. And Rafa was like, it doesn't matter, next time you also, like, I was like, oh, next time doesn't matter. And then next time I recorded you guys but didn't record myself. And then like, well, that's a learning process. It doesn't matter, next time. And it took us almost like a month, and I think we mentioned
Hmm.
already in the
Yeah.
past. to get like like, because the third time we found out that Skype has the recording option,
Sounded really
which
bad.
would really suck. That's why I included in the title really bad quality start with episode 4.
Yeah, and then a smiley face.
Yeah. So it took us almost a month to do an episode. But here's the thing: I never felt like I put a lot of research or whatever. I was more like, as I was doing the things, starting figuring out, like all of us, like how we are actually doing these things, and there was like no planning or preparation. We just jumped into it, and then we encountered a problem, and then we tried to solve that problem, and then we moved on, and then the next problem, then we started trying to solve that problem. And so it was never like preparing. I think when you prepare, you try to prepare for maybe situations and problems that might occur, but at the time that you prepare, you actually also waste a lot of time. And I also feel that a lot of people that plan too much ahead get stuck. And that was the idea I had like a long time ago, because I fall trapped to that too. Like a real preparation trap. You research, you prepare, you read, you interview people, whatever, and you think you're doing something. But when you look at the last 6 months, the only thing you did, you were looking into things, which is not wrong. Sometimes you need to research, especially let's say you go into finances and stock market, you want to know a little bit about it before you start investing the money. However, sometimes it's also just good to jump into it and learn as things go. For example, also, like, I just came off the stock market example because it was also an example in my life where I started, investing money, and then I did some good choices and definitely a lot of bad choices. But I kind of feel like in the last 7 years since I do stock market things, finance stuff, I've learned so much about it just by doing it and doing mistakes. And that's the one other thing with the show. We are okay when we fuck up and it sucks. It's okay.
It's
It's
fine.
okay. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay not to be perfect, and just move on with life. It's
And
okay.
I remember an example that I heard once in a book, and it was that perfection is a form of procrastination, really. That in all the time that you spend trying to prepare for something, you don't actually get to do it. And even for the stock market example, just like you mentioned, there's value in going at it blind, but there's also value in going in and doing some research, because what you need to understand is that not doing the research or doing the research isn't going to assure that you're going to do well or not, and in that, because there's a lot of other variables that you just cannot prepare for. So you might as well do research on the things that seem interesting to you, or seem like they're calling you, and then go at it and see kind of what happens.
Definitely. And just and not be afraid to jump into it, because no matter how much you prepare, you're never going to be perfectly prepared. It's just not going to happen. Life is really fucking great with coming up with things that you're not prepared for.
Yeah, life on the stock market. So stock market is also life.
but here the thing with the stock market is also, like, it taught me also a lot about life, because sometimes I sell something and I lose a lot of money, and then, like, oh shit, I lost a lot of money now. But however, the day before I just looked shitty, and then I cannot go back, and decision is made. It's when you make a decision, it's made. You sold that stock, or you bought it and then it drops, or you sell it and then it goes up. You never know what's gonna happen the next moment, and that's fucking life. But once you do a decision, you stand by it. Like, fuck, I did the decision because I thought it was the right thing at the moment to do. Now it turns out the stock went up, I sold it. Well, fuck, I could have made more money. But it doesn't matter, like, I made my decision, and that's the thing, man. Like, looking back, I could have made with the stocks I sold, I think like 25 grand more than I did, but with
Damn.
a couple of them. But it doesn't matter because, for example, I bought
Start.
stocks, and then I sold them a couple years later for like 2 years later something for with like a win of six grand, and like so, and then now the stocks are worth, I think like the ones I had like 25 or something, whatever. And then if I talk with somebody about it, like, oh shit, you could have made, like you lost like 20 grand. Like, no, I made six.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I made six at that time, and who know, it could have went also like the different direction and lose
Yeah,
everything.
maybe if you wouldn't have like sold it at that time, that would have that would have been a different universe in which a certain like things would have happened, and then that company would have just tanked, and then you would have lost everything. You wouldn't have made anything out of it. That we can't really ever know how things would have turned out. That we have this idea that, hey, maybe you didn't sell it at this point, so you lost a bunch of money, but you can't know that because you would never know how things would have turned out if, for example, you hadn't had those the amount that you made the first time you sold it, or
Mm-hmm.
when you sold it, and how
Exactly.
that changed your life and put
Yeah.
you in a path that maybe makes the 25 or whatever you could have made later, almost worthless because you had such a different life than what you would have gotten. The
Yeah.
same thing has happened for me, where the company that I was working at in the States, um, for the people working in the company, you could buy stocks at a discount. And so I bought a fuck ton. I bought as much as I could, and I've already like sold all of it, and I sold all of it in like three chunks. And two of those chunks were at peaks. And I didn't even do research. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sell like a third of it. And then I sold it, and months later I was looking at the graph of the stock, and I was like, oh, I sold it like 1 point off of the peak that it in years, that like the highest it's been. And then the last time I sold those stocks, it was like at another peak even higher than the one before. And I didn't even do research. In fact, I found out after I sold them that they were at like a whole new peak. And I was like, I couldn't have planned for this. There's no way, there's no universe in which I
Yeah.
would have been like, yeah, Rafa, sell it at exactly this point. I just kind of like let him. I just kind of like left him there, and then one day when I needed him, I just kind of like went and got him, and it just so happens that it worked out.
Lucky.
Yeah, and
But you never know. You never know.
yeah, and I didn't do research or anything on that, so
I mean,
it's
you
like
just
if
wanted the money, right? And so you
yeah,
would have taken it independently. So that's kind of the point, also. Like from an investor's perspective, you were like lucky or whatever, and it's not the way to do things, quote unquote. But for you were just doing what you wanted to do, which was get your money out. So
Yeah.
yeah,
it's worked
But
out.
yeah, but there's also like the right way of doing it. It's also like, very hard to define, because when I make money, I fucking make money, and if I just follow my intuition, I make money. Like, the results speak. Like, like who the fuck cares, and how you did it, right? And
yeah,
but again, like, even if you do it the right way, it might not turn out well. And that's the thing again with all the things you plan in life. If you prepare and you do as perfect as you think it's gonna be, can get, you still might fail, but you have to be okay with it. Same thing when you sell stocks and they really fucking down, and the next day go up, but you sold them when they're low. You have to be okay with it and not beat yourself up with, like, oh shit, I made the wrong decision. Oh, it just, you didn't make a decision, and now you stand with it, and now you move on forward from that point on.
yeah. You just made a decision, because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you made, I think it also comes down to like, what do you consider like essentially like success in this scenario? Like, if you sell it today and you're gonna make $100, and if you would have waited until tomorrow, you were gonna make 120. Do are they really like, it's really like one more successful than the other? Because they if depending on where your mind is at, they're both successful. So if that helps you also like not stay trapped in that, then yeah, just go for it. Or
Yeah.
just give things a try. Just kind of like be like, oh, I just did this thing and got this much out of it. Cool. Let's try something else, and then you
Yes,
just kind of
yes,
like don't put too much thought in it at all.
yes. Don't take investing advice from Rafa or me. I don't know if Dago has a little more experience, but like don't. I mean, to be honest, like
Man, you can decide for yourself, but it's like we don't give advice for investing. We just give advice how to, be okay with
live
it,
life.
whatever happens.
Be okay with it.
Mm.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. You're gonna need that. For advice.
I just remember the story of my mentor in my old company. So he's like almost 30 years older than me, and that was, man, I think 10 years ago, something like that. We were sitting, at his place, playing chess, and then he started, like telling his stories from the past. And then was this time he told me he went to the casino when he was young, like, around 20 something. And he took like 50 shilling. So like, I'm just gonna say like $50, whatever. And shilling was like the old currency in Austria at that time. And he made with roulette 5,000. And then he just,
Yeah.
he just played the whole night and just made like, like at one point like 5,000. And then he like dropped, like, he put everything on whatever black, and he lost everything. And then people were like to him like, fuck, like I think he had a girlfriend at the time, or a girl with him. She told him like, fuck, you just lost 5,000 shilling. And he was like, no, I lost 50.
I just lost a girlfriend. Get away
Yeah.
from here. He
Yeah,
left.
it's definitely. You just lost a boyfriend.
Yeah, bitch.
you, you know,
But
I
it's
think
good.
there's
It's good.
definitely something in playing and just playing to play,
Yeah,
just going at it without thinking about it too much. Because the first time I played, I think it's roulette as well, the one where there's like a bunch of numbers in the table and some of them are like red and the other ones are
Black and red,
black. Um, the first time I played that was at an event and they gave us fake money, and we were just like, the whole time we were just all laughing, and a couple of people were taking it pretty seriously, but we were all kind of like joking. And sometimes like one person would bet on a number, and then we would all be like, oh, let's all bet on this number, this person must know something about this number. And then we would all like win, and we would all start laughing even harder, and we kept kind of like that going. And I remember at one point, like, we were all making like a fuck ton of money, which is like a fuck ton of fake money, but still, it was pretty, we were just having fun. And I remember at one point I was like, okay, I want to get the fuck out of here. And so I put everything I had in one number, and I was like, okay, let's time to get the fuck out of here. And that number like was the winning number. So now I was like in the millions, and I was like, what the fuck is going on in this game? Like, this game is really easy. I've never played this before, but this time that you guys gave me fake money, I became a millionaire in fake money. So,
Fake
you
money.
know,
All right.
this game is like I have this game figured out. And then some years later, I tried it in Vegas, and no, I got slammed. And of course, like, I was trying it with someone else's money, so I guess to some degree it was fake money. But I feel like the second time I played in Vegas, I was playing to win, but that other time I literally gave no fucks. I put all my money in one number so I could leave, and then and then that got me like another win, which I don't know. I feel like there's definitely something that happens when you don't take things too seriously, where your mind just like, I don't know, it's just like a few steps in the future, or I don't know, it's reading into things that you can't normally read when you're trying to like overplan things.
Man,
Uh,
yeah, go for it.
no, it's just that going back to your mentor's example, like he came with 50 shillings, and that's what he put in, and then it grew up, it went down, but at the end of the day, that was his whole investment into that play. And I
Hmm.
think that there's a lot to say about that, like when you're there, not because you're hoping to get rich or
Because you got to pay your mortgage.
Yeah,
exactly, like that removes such a layer out of it. And if you just go like, I have $100, I will go there, I will play, and whatever happens, almost like you're going to an arcade or to like some kind of
Yeah.
street fair, like you're just paying to be there and play. And then, if you get money, then that's kind of part of the whole experience. Also losing it is, eh, that's something I would
yeah.
like to eventually do, just go,
Lose money.
yeah. Lose money without caring about it too
and,
much.
and possibly a girlfriend.
And possibly,
But I feel like that's a cool idea that you mentioned, because when you go to the arcade, and you put money in the arcade, you're not there like, I'm gonna fucking win this game, and you're like, oh, let's give this game a try,
yeah,
and we'll play for as long as we play, and sometimes we'll put some extra money to get some extra lives, but you're not there like trying to figure out your next big decision in life. You're just playing the damn game.
yeah. People and money, it's weird, it's just such a weird relationship.
But like the going back to the thing that you said, Rafa, if there's something in it when you don't try to win money and you just play for the sake of playing and having fun, that it just gets easier, and
Hmm.
you can like it just goes into your favor. And I had like so many similar experience, like also went to a casino, and that was after he told me that story. And at you pay entrance like 27 euros in the casino, and you get a free drink and chips worth 25 euros, whatever. And then you go and play with this 25 chips. I was like, like I just went with my ex-girlfriend there, and we just want to have a little bit of fun. I went for her sake, and I went to casino. And then we walked around, and I was like, hey, should we go slowly? And then it's like, yeah, but you didn't even play. I'm like, hey, yeah, sure. I was not interested in playing at all in the casino. Then what, like, what, I'm gonna try roulette. That's kind of the only thing that I kind of understand. You just put money on something, and then maybe you get or maybe you lose.
Yeah.
And then, like, I just put it on colors, and then I won. Then I was like, oh well, I know. I was like this. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna lose this money, and then we can go. That was my thought. So I put it on colors, and then I win. Then I was like, they went like the different side. Okay, you know what? Let me put it on this other thing, and then I win again, and then you know what? Let me just put everything now on this, and then we're gonna go. And then I won again, and then like a little bit later, I was like, you
Damn.
know what? Just let's just go. Let me take the money. It was like around 200 euros or something, and let's just go. This is getting annoying, you know. And just leaving the casino. But like there was like I just wanted to like at that moment I just wanted to go. And I wanted to lose the
Mhm.
money, But it was so funny that there was like no stress of me having it or keeping it. And she was like, how you're so lucky. I'm like, I don't know, like I feel like unlucky because I want to go, but it's keeping me here. It's also
Maybe
perspective
that's
again.
the trick. Maybe that's the trick. When you play roulette, you put the numbers down. You're like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
And the guy
And then
goes like, no, you won't.
yeah.
Fuck you. You're gonna stay here playing, motherfucker.
That's the trick of the casinos, man. If you want to leave, they let you in, and if you want to,
I
stay,
wouldn't be surprised.
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if
yeah.
they.
There's like a legion of like psychic people behind, like
Telekinetic.
looking at the
Class.
cameras at the casino, and they're like, oh, this person wants to go. They pick 23. Okay, the ball's gonna fall on 23, and we got him.
We got it. Yeah. And then they get like really excited. Hey, we got it. We got it. He's staying. And you're like, God damn.
Yeah. But it was so funny because my girlfriend, she was getting excited that I was winning one after another. I was getting more and more annoyed. It's just like
this kind of just taught me something. Like, you shouldn't go to a casino because you want to buy something specifically by making specific money, but you should have an exit strategy. Like, if I make 500 that I can buy an Xbox One X, then I will go, and then you can just have your moment to go, because otherwise
Yeah,
you can find that loop that, yeah, you will lose it all eventually, or you will just kind of feel like guilty for not staying and keep making money if you're being on a good streak. So you have
yeah.
to have kind of like an exit strategy. Like, that's how I would do it. Like,
Mm, not
I like
stupid.
that idea.
I like it
yeah,
also. For
because
me,
it's
for
like,
me,
if you lose everything, just go.
yeah, for me, it's more the time. I don't want to be the whole night at the fucking casino.
That's good too.
So like, whatever happens till 1 o'clock in the morning happens, and then I'll leave with lot money or not money, and it's okay.
That's even better than my idea, I think. It's like, okay, if I don't lose all my money by one, then okay, I'll just leave.
Yeah,
Fuck, you just
man.
made it
So
easier.
yeah, there was one thing I actually want to go back to the first question, and the only question that we actually managed to handle in the first one.
There was only one, right?
Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to say that I had my tongue, but I didn't have the chance to. With the goals and everything, and the 5 years plans, whatever. I also don't think now, from my perspective, not my past self, but my now self believes, you don't need goals or plans or something. If you live your life as Edward said, like according to your values, it doesn't matter where you go, because you're gonna have like a good path, and that's the only thing. How people say, the journey is the goal.
Hmm.
That's the thing, man. You don't need this. And also, like, one other question I have before we end this whole thing. Maybe it's a too long question, but however, the success thing, like in the goal thing, why do you need them?
Yeah, dude. And I actually am glad you brought it up, because I was thinking about this earlier, because I've had situations in where I'm like, kind of like I mentioned earlier, where I'm like, hey, I'm just kind of going with the wind. I'm just going where life takes me, and people freak out because they're like, you don't have any goals. Like, where are you gonna go? Like, what's your life gonna be? And I'm like, no, but that's like, why do I need a goal? Like, I have an overarching thing that I'm moving towards in my life, but I don't need to like plan every minute of it. Like, I'm going towards something, but I think some people have like, they seem to have connected goals and success to life, and if you don't have a goal, then it's like you're it's like your life is kind of like meaningless. Like it's like your life is not going anywhere in from their point of view.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
you know like, to play a little bit of devil's advocate to that, because I am a big goal setter in some regards, and it has to do with wanting things, or might be physical or non-physical things, but or experiences, right? But like to me, it kind of works like that. Like, if I want something really specific in a in a specific time frame, or within a specific time frame, then I just kind of make it a goal, and I just kind of,
Mm.
yeah, I do plan it, I do all the things, and I still like keep learning things to do it even more granular and crazy, which in a way, like I guess I knew I could, but I also like to leave some leeway for
What what
other things to
what do
happen.
you mean when you say that, kind of like leave it to be like more granular or
Cause,
crazy?
cause I could be like I could be setting like day by day what I could do, or X amount of hours,
Mm,
and I
I
do
see.
it with certain things, like with educational things. Like, if I have a curriculum, I can like just cut it up into my time and over X amount of time, and just see, okay, I'll be done with it within this time, stuff like that. But uh, it for me, it has to do more with that, and where I think the idea of setting goals maybe falls over a little bit is this idea that you always have to want like something specific, and in that aspect, it's I cannot like really get it for me, Because in 5 years, I don't know anything so specific that I want that I could make a goal to get it, So I just follow my values. But like I said, like in 6 months intervals or even less, I can be like, okay, I would like to be able to do this within 3 months. And then I could create like some goals around that. For me, it's just exciting, And for me, I like kind of expanding my skills and doing stuff. So, and I've proven that it's a good way for me to do these things in the way that I like it,
Mm.
to set goals and just kind of following sometimes loosely, sometimes not that loosely. Uh, but it goes back to that. I just want to do very specific things, If you don't, or if you don't know, then maybe the idea of setting a goal for what, might not be as clear or desirable, right? You just might want to flow, because at the end of the day, amazing things will happen anyways. Like it's what I've learned. Like even though I'm planned and I get a lot of shit done, like and I can see amazing things happening to me and to everybody else, whether they're doing the same things that I'm doing or not. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just a sense of security or something, whatever it is. But it, I do vouch for the power of goals to get like exactly what you want within X amount of times or within set amount of times that you said, because it kind of repeats again and again in my life, and it's been like that for a few years or so that I've been getting better at it. So in a way, I see it more like alchemy a little bit, that I'm just kind of experimenting. I plan, I set up the recipe, and I just kind of do it, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, that worked, that's fuck. I'm like living this life. I'm doing this thing. I now can do this thing that I kind of wanted to, and I set up to do it, and I did it, And so, that's my 2 cents on that.
Hmm. Goals definitely have their values, like that's for sure. Like goals get you moving in a direction, and it's I think also better than just standing still and doing nothing. At least it gives you a sense of direction. So, and especially when it comes to skill development, I think goals are very valuable to have. Like, oh, I want to do now. I'm not very flexible, but I want to do by end of the year the split. And also it gives you a sense of, like, okay, where do you want to go with my skill level? And that, I have to be honest, I don't really plan things now anymore, because I really trust the flow and just like my sense of intuition. However, there are things I want to do, like I want to get better in martial arts. So like I have goals there with the skill development, and I just want to fucking dance. So like dancing is just like one thing. I don't have like great world changing things in my head, but that's the things I want to do over the next couple of years. I want to get better at martial arts and great at fucking dancing and public speaking thing. These are the skills. But also with the speaking, I'm also not interested in changing lives of millions of people. I like to talk. That's I just fucking love it. And when in the process people get, like touched and they change their lives, then like, man, that's a bonus. But I'm not doing
Yeah.
specifically for that. It's just like I love to do these things, and that's where my heart is leading me. Like I'm going the directions. That's why I go to Thailand, because I want to do martial arts. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I follow just like so moving, martial arts, and dancing. That's guiding me, and the public speaking thing. These two, three things are guiding me through like, where do I have to go to get better at the skills? That's the only question I have in my head. The rest, I just go as it comes.
I like to say something about that actually, because it's that's not quite a value, but it's kind of like a certain goal, right? But you don't want to know exactly how you're gonna get there,
Mm-hmm.
And I get that a lot when I'm setting stuff up. This is why I say I set them up kind of loosely,
Mm-hmm.
especially if the goal is like to travel or to, because I'm like I don't know how I'm going to get exactly to that, or where. For example, I had a goal to get a job as a developer, and I didn't know exactly with who I wanted to work or in what kind of projects, and I did not want it to set that up, even though I could have
Yeah.
to a certain degree, but I did not want to set that up at all, because I don't know exactly what would be like, and this is how I like allow flow into my planning, you know, in a way like okay, I want this, it's gonna be development, but you kind of make sure to get me something that's gonna be like exciting to me, and or interesting or unexpected, you know, it's fine as long as it's development. So I just kind of encase a little bit, and then I just let it also fill in the blanks because I want to be excited too, you know. I don't want to, I don't want to close myself from possibilities that might be extremely amazing. I just cannot even think about them at all right now. So
Yeah. So kind of, I feel like connecting some of the points that you guys mentioned, it almost seems like the best way of setting like goals for yourself is to get as detailed as it works for you. So for example, for me, like I have this like 500-year like goal and to get to that goal, every interaction that I have, can be like essentially like a learning opportunity to get closer to being like more respectful of the universe. But then with that, also there can also be like employment opportunities in which I can be put in a position in which now my respect of certain people or certain things is challenged, and then I need to work on that. But then um, you can get like a little bit more specific, which is kind of like the case that Darko mentioned, where you have things like um, martial arts and dancing. And even though you're not saying, hey, I'm gonna go dance exactly at this place and do exactly these things, you have kind of like this almost like umbrella that covers a lot of areas. And if you find an opportunity, or if you see an opportunity in that area, then you can know that you can jump into that, because that's something that is along where you're kind of going. And then even, I feel like, even more granular for Edward, you have things that are like more specific that you want in the very near time frame. And but there would be people who would say, oh, kind of like following up on your example, I want a developer job, and I want exactly this kind of developer job, and exactly this language, and exactly this company in this location, and they can make it really tight for themselves. But I feel like for a lot of people, maybe that wouldn't work. And you know, thinking of like even examples of me, maybe if you get too specific on how you want things to go, when they don't go that way, you get kind of like crushed, even though they not ending up that exact way might be leading you to an even more interesting or cooler opportunity. But because you were so affixed to getting that first thing,
mm-hmm.
you miss the second one, because you just don't see it pass by, and the second one was a lot more interesting.
Yep, 100%. And
Hmm.
I think it is always like that, actually. It is always like that. I don't even think it's like some of the times, like when we're fixated on something and there's other opportunities around, I'm sure like all of them have like potential to be greatness, you know? So,
Mm,
so it's not even like a matter of if, it's like every time, every path we take will take us to greatness to a certain degree in a certain way. So it's just about what we want, actually.
yeah.
And that's it, what we want at the moment, and or what we think we want, or what we want to allow to happen. So I don't know, it's really fun.
Yeah, if you follow, as you mentioned earlier, your values and your intuition and everything, then you're gonna go to a path that's gonna be fucking amazing, for
Mm-hmm.
sure,
Yeah.
for
Undoubtedly.
sure, for sure. Okay, I would say
That's been an
wa-
episode.
was
That was just
really,
one
really.
question.
So basically the question was, just to review, like how do you see yourself and maybe probably the show in 5 years? And we all hated it. We think it's a stupid question, don't ever ask us that again because we didn't quite answer. But
Because we don't know, we don't know.
we just made a bunch of stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. but it's really like, like, again, if you plan for the future, it's or you don't, it's okay, both is okay. Like the one thing that you said, Rafa, with the umbrella, like you put things like on the, like, like setting like vague goals is like, you put like an umbrella over it. It gives you freedom to adjust your
Mm-hmm.
path to where you want to go. And the other thing
Yeah.
is like the specific thing, it gives you more sense of, it's more tangible, I think. Like when you're very, very specific, because with the developer thing at this place, this company, this language, it gives it's more tangible. It's more how to call it. It gives you, I think, a better sense of, um, I I can do this and this is realistic, and really it really depends on the person. Like,
Yeah.
who are you?
Mhm.
Like, I think for us three, because we're setting more vague goals and leaving us ourselves the freedom for adjustments. In that freedom for adjustment, we also live, there's like a sense of adventure in it, because we
Yeah.
don't want to know every step. So like we three, I think we share a common thing of, like, adventurous part. Like, we want to get surprised
Just try
Mhm.
things out.
and and,
Yeah.
and
See
see
what
what
happens.
happens and adjust to that. And I think for some people it's higher, that adventurous part, and therefore the part of security is lower. For example, like security for me is not so doesn't have a higher, is not as high as the sense for adventure. I value that a lot more. But if you're a
Mm.
person,
Yeah.
you value more security than adventure, because adventure is like, oh fuck, I don't know what's going to happen, etc., etc., which, by the way, anyways, nobody knows. Doesn't matter how much you plan what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
it gives you a sense of
It's like,
security. And so I understand both parts.
And something that I wanted to add to that is and think about the kind of like the umbrella in your example, for example, the you want to dance. So if you were to like find a dance school that is kind of like along your area or along whatever it is that you're doing at the time, and you get into that, and then you're like, oh, you spend like, I don't know, like a month or something in it, and then you're like, ah, fuck, I actually hate this kind of dance. Well, now you know, like, for one, that type of dance didn't work for you, or that at this time that type of dance didn't work for you, but you already worked that kind of like inner muscle of dance and choreography, that wherever it is that you go dance next, like, you've already made progress towards that next thing.
Mhm.
So even if you end up somewhere that didn't work out perfectly, you're always making progress towards something,
Yes.
even if you don't know what that something is, which
Yes.
feeds into what we were saying earlier, where it is that you're always moving somewhere really fucking cool. You're always moving somewhere to greatness, even if at this time it just doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, that's it's amazing that you said that, because it reminds me of a podcast I listened to, I think a couple of years ago. I don't remember, but he was saying like this: you let's say you set the goal and you go in this one direction, right? So the hardest part is actually to walk, to be like, I'm gonna go now this direction, because a lot of people are on this
Mm.
analysis paralysis thing. They're like, there's so many things I can do that at the end of the day I don't decide for anything.
To any,
and
yeah.
and yeah, and they just stand still, right? But like, you have to decide for one thing, and then you walk down the path. And here's the thing: what he said was like, it's similar to the thing that you said. Even if you walk down that road and, like, say like a year in it, you discover like, oh, this was like not the whole thing, that's like, I don't like it. He's like, then you go back and go to the next door. But here's the thing: during that 1 year, you learned skills, you
Mhm.
built up network, you got all the
Yeah.
valuable information, and you know that's not the right thing for you. But you learned things on the way that you can now use and utilize in the next thing. So there's always like things overlap. That's not excluding each other. Things can, like, you really, like, the things that I've learned as a plastic engineer benefit me today in my daily life, but like how I think and look at things. So like, there's like no path is lost. There's always
Yeah.
thing you can extract and put into the next thing.
You're never wasting your time. You can
Yeah,
always make something out of it.
and it gives
Yeah.
also a unique viewpoint on the new thing, because you come from a different background.
Yeah,
And you're
definitely.
and you're learning that one thing didn't work for you, which is valuable information, because there's
Exactly.
you never had that doubt again. Like no, I actually did try bungee jumping. I hate it with all my heart. Okay, good. You'll
Yeah.
never wonder if you like bungee jumping again. That's progress, Like sometimes just the wondering and the regret can eat someone up, Like people need to try shit out really and just figure it out.
And even further than that, if you maybe not bungee jumping, if you were to try, I don't know, like a certain type of sport, and it turned out that you didn't like it, now you can even go further and say, okay, why didn't I like it? And maybe you didn't like it because the people teaching it were too serious, and it helps you learn that you need to be in a group that doesn't take themselves as seriously, and that will help you get interested in the sport. So
Mm,
now you can not remove the sport from your list, but you can remove certain type of environments from your list, and
yeah.
that next time that you get the opportunity to learn another sport, you can look at the people teaching it and be like, oh, these people are always goofing around. I'm definitely going to enjoy this experience. Let's go with it.
True. That's also one thing as that I noticed as martial arts participant, teacher, whatever, in the whole last since I'm doing martial arts. And there's one thing. It's not because I did martial arts in multiple places, right? And I love martial arts, but there were some places that just I didn't like it. Now, if I would be a beginner that I wasn't at that time, and I go to this place and I get like discouraged, I could blame it like on I don't like the martial arts.
Yeah.
However, as you said, sometimes it's not the thing that you want to do. Sometimes it's a construct around it that isn't inviting enough or doesn't allow you to express yourself the way you want, and then you feel like, oh, you don't like this thing, but it's not a sport you don't like, it's just a thing around it that you don't like. And then maybe you go to a different school, a different place, and then you're gonna feel like, oh, you know what, I actually really fucking love martial arts because now I get into it with the right people and the right place.
Yep, exactly.
So I would say let's wrap it up, the whole thing. Visualizing ourselves in 5 years, I want to say, just like for the end, visualize yourself, or don't plan, or don't be specific, or don't be specific. At the end of the day, as long as you keep on moving, and I think it doesn't even matter in what kind of direction, as long as you follow your, like, as long as it's aligned with your values, and if I can love that again, and your intuition, and you just keep on moving like with that in the back of your head and like in your guts, doesn't matter if you plan or don't plan, you're gonna end up in a great fucking place.
That's it. Word. And with that, we say
thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna have the email posted with this episode. Again, if you got gigs in which you would like us to talk, or you have questions for us, please send them over. If the gig is even not yours, but it's an event that you think we'd be interested in, we'll also take it, even just for having the experience and all that.
Also do collaborations in other podcasts if we can set it up. So yeah, why not?
That'd be dope.
I personally would do it for free just to get experienced. Like I don't matter. But if I get money, I would prefer
it. Said everyone who ever entered a casino before.
So subscribe
and buy our t-shirts in the future. So in 5 years, maybe in 5 years we'll definitely have t-shirts, I think. So just buy our t-shirts within 5 years. So.
Yeah, a t-shirt or our t-shirt. You can buy either.
And stocks.
What are you doing like that, man? You just went public.
Yeah, I fucking love it. Okay, guys, love you, and till next time.
Alright, guys.
Transmission overdrive. I see it's